By now, you've probably seen too many anticipated movies of 2025. You probably have. And most of them have probably been, the usual suspects, the Marvel movies, the superhero movies, DCU. I want to talk about the more obscure films that you might overlook because they may be overshadowed by all of those big tentpole movies. And I'm not going to rank these. Let's just talk about some movies that I think will be good that we should look forward to. Now, some of these are streaming movies and some will be released in theaters, wide and limited. But let's just go through. One of the most anticipated films for me in January is Den of Thieves 2. I loved the first Den of Thieves. O'Shea Jackson Jr. and Gerard Butler are reprising their roles. I've seen the two trailers and I kind of guessed where it's going, but I'm still anticipating this film because I loved the first one. I think Den of Thieves had one of the best highway shootout scenes since Bad Boys 2. It's not as good as Bad Boys 2, but it was really good. Den of Thieves 2 is going to be released in theaters next weekend, January 10th. The following weekend, Kiki Palmer and SZA's movie One of Them Days is going to be released in theaters. I know this is like a black movie, Cat Williams in it. I like the trailer. I thought it was funny, and so I'm looking forward to seeing that one in theaters. But also it has some competition. Better Man and Wolfman will be in theaters. I liked Invisible Man, so I'm looking forward to Wolfman. I love the jump scares in the trailer, so I'm going to be busy on the weekend of January 17th. If you can't get to the theater that weekend, Back in Action is going to be released on Netflix. Jamie Foxx and Cameron Diaz were last in a movie together in Annie in 2014, and of course, Any Given Sunday. So it'll be good to see them reunite and, of course, to see Cameron Diaz back on screen. Now let's skip a couple of weeks down the road to January 30th. You're Cordially Invited will be released on Prime Video. This stars Reese Witherspoon and Will Ferrell. And Will Ferrell is the father of a bride. Reese Witherspoon is the sister of a whole different bride. And they both scheduled a wedding, a destination wedding at the same venue. So they're dueling for this location and comedy ensues. This could be really good or it could flop, but it's on Prime Video, very accessible. So I'll be tuning in. Just in time for Valentine's Day, February the 13th, Bridget Jones returns. I am so excited. And Renee Zellweger is returning. So, Bridget Jones, Mad About the Boy, is coming to Peacock. I actually wish this was going to be in theaters, but that's okay. It will be accessible. This would have been a really cool date night movie because it is coming out February 13th, but listen, that's okay. It's going to be on Peacock. I'm so excited. I love Bridget Jones' Diary series. I think Renee Zellweger brought her to life. It's a really, really, really good series, one of the best ever. So I'm looking forward to this one. I really am. That same day, February 13th, Hulu is getting a documentary about Sly Stone. It's called Sly Lives. Questlove directed it. It has interviews from Andre 3000, who I think should have played Sly, Shaka Khan, George Clinton, Miles Rogers, D'Angelo, Jimmy Jam, and Terry Lewis. Sly Stone is a funk god. He is a legend. I'm looking forward to that documentary. Now, here's one for late February. It's called Last Breath. There's already a trailer out. It stars Woody Harrelson and Simi Liu. This is based on a true story. They are deep sea divers who lose a crewmate who is stranded hundreds of feet below sea level. They take this death defying expedition to the bottom of the ocean to rescue him. So I'm looking forward to that one. That's coming out February 28th, Last Breath. On March 14th, we're getting Black Bag and Novocaine, which a lot of people, I'm pretty sure, are anticipating that. Black Bag has Kate Blanchett. Novocaine is too reminiscent of Crank for me to get into it, so I might see it. But that weekend, I'm actually anticipating Opus, which stars Ayo Edebiri and John Malkovich. What a pairing, right? And it's centered around an iconic pop star who returns after being missing for decades. Based on the log line and the cast, I'm in. On March 21st, we're getting Alto Nights. Now, I am fascinated by this one. So, if you're into crime movies, you're going to love this. It has Robert De Niro starring as Vito Genovese and Frank Costello. He's playing dueling, rivaling crime bosses in this one movie, which I don't think has been done before. So I'm really excited about this. This has been pushed back every which way. It's finally getting a release March 21st. The following weekend on March 28th, we're getting a Naomi Watts movie. Now I feel like everything I've watched with Naomi Watts lately has been horror films. She is good to release a horror film every year. This one is more of a drama. So she plays a creative writing professor who loses her friend, played by Bill Murray, her friend and her mentor, and her friend and mentor leaves her this Great Dane that really changes her life and her perspective on living. And it definitely reminds me of Marley and Me. So I am really looking forward to this one. It's called The Friend and it's going to be released in theaters March 28th. Blumhouse is about to have a really big year and I'm excited about a couple of the ones they're releasing in 2025, but particularly this one, The Woman in the Yard. It stars Danielle Deadwyler, and she is a widow who must protect her children from this menacing stranger that keeps appearing on her porch. That's a simplified way to describe it, but they had me at Blumhouse and Danielle Deadwyler. Again, The Woman in the Yard will be released in theaters March 28th. April 18th, we're getting a Ryan Coogler and Michael B. Jordan repairing. They are so good together. From the trailers, it looks like it's going to be good. They're hinting at it's a little ambiguous, but they're hinting at it being a vampire killer type movie. So think Lovecraft Country, but with vampires. May 16th, we're getting Final Destination Bloodlines. Now, I've seen all of the Final Destinations. This is nostalgia for me. There are three of the Final Destinations that are really good, especially the first and second one. So I have really high expectations, but of course, I got to see a couple of trailers. The next weekend is my most anticipated film of the year, Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning. I am a Tom Cruise stan. I loved Dead Reckoning. It was one of my favorite films of 2023. I saw it in the movie theater multiple times, and I plan to spend my May, at least the end of it, seeing Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning. I love these movies, and I am really looking forward to that. So that's actually my most anticipated movie of 2025. June 6th, we're getting The Ballerina. Now, I'm not the biggest Ana de Armas fan, and I'm not even going to go into all of that here. I'm happy that Keanu Reeves is in it, and reshoots included more of him because it's probably going to be necessary. I'm not the biggest Ana de Armas fan, but she was good in the last Bond film. So it was a snippet. I mean, she wasn't in it long, but she was good. And so I'm looking forward to seeing what she can do in this non-Netflix action flick, Ballerina. That's going to be released in theaters June 6th. 25th, we're getting F1 or Formula One. It was directed by Joseph Kosinski. It stars Brad Pitt, Javier Bardem, Carrie Condon, Simone Ashley. It'll be in theaters June 25th. I'm excited about the action sequences. I'll make sure I see it in IMAX or Dolby. So I'm excited about that. Now, August 8th there's a working title, but I'm just going to call it P.T. Anderson's next film. And you already know there's going to be a host of characters in it. Let me run it down for you. Leonardo DiCaprio, Benicio del Toro. You had me at that. Sean Penn, Regina Hall, Tiana Taylor, Viggo Mortensen, Joaquin Phoenix, Wood Harris. Listen, it's a P.T. Anderson film. I'm going to be there. It's coming out August the 8th. The current title is The Battle of Bakken Cross. It might change again. It's changed before. So we'll see. But it's P.T. Anderson. That same weekend, we're getting Freakier Friday. Lindsay Lohan and Jamie Lee Curtis are reprising their roles. Listen, I'm in. I am happy to see Lindsay's resurgence. She never missed a beat. So I will be there in the theaters watching this too. It's going to be a good weekend for me, August 18th in the theaters. September 19th, we're getting a Marlon Wayans movie, and it's called Him. It's centered around the star quarterback who is training at this isolated compound run by a dynasty player. That is really all there is to know about this film so far. Now, September 26th, I'm really anticipating this one because I like Maggie Gyllenhaal. She wrote and directed this film, and it's got her husband, Peter Sarsgaard, in it. It's got her brother, Jake Gyllenhaal, in it. But it's also got Christian Bale, Annette Bening, Penelope Cruz, and Jessie Buckley. It's called The Bride. Now, have we had some Frankenstein movies in these last few years, particularly with Poor Things and with Nosferatu? Yes. However, I am looking forward to seeing Maggie Gyllenhaal's perspective. Again, she wrote and directed this film. So this is one of my 5 most anticipated films of 2025. I'm there. October 3rd, we're getting Michael, the biopic. This was directed by Antoine Fuqua, so you already know it's going to be good. And it stars Jafar Jackson playing Michael. That was Michael's nephew, and it's Jermaine Jackson's son. From what I've seen, he looks like he studied this to perfection. I was worried before because I thought someone with chops should play Michael Jackson so that he can finally get a good biopic because the others just haven't been up to par. This one looks like it's going to make a run for Oscar nominations and for award season. This was originally slated for earlier in this year and has been pushed back to this date so that it can be in the forefront of voters' minds so that it can be positioned, best positioned to at least be considered for Oscar nomination. And I'm looking forward to seeing this. This is one of my top 5 most anticipated movies of 2025. That same day on October 3rd, we're getting Roofman that is centered around this real life escape convict named Jeffrey Manchester, who, even though he was on the lam, escaping justice, and he had been convicted and was serving time because he was a burglar, he acclimated in this town, going to church and just living a normal life while he was hiding in this secluded loading dock in Toys R Us. This has Channing Tatum, Kirsten Dunst, Peter Dinklage, Juno Tempo, Lakeith Stanfield, Ben Mendelsohn. It's stacked. I'm really looking forward to this one. So it's going to be a good weekend for me at the movie. October the 17th, we're getting 2 movies. The first one is Black Phone 2, and Ethan Hawke is returning. I loved Black Phone. I went to a premiere. It was a really terrifying film, and I hope they up the ante with this one. And that weekend, we're also getting Good Fortune, which is very similar to Trading Places, which is one of my favorite films of all time with Dan Aykroyd and Eddie Murphy. This comedy is stacked. It has Seth Rogen, Keke Palmer, Aziz Ansari, Sandra Oh, and Keanu Reeves. And basically, like I said, it's like Trading Places. This poor man switches lives with his more fortunate, wealthy friend. Is it a touchy subject in this climate? Sure, it is. But can it still work? Swapping lives? I think it could. If done well, it could work. So I'm in. All right. On November the 7th, we're getting a Yorgos Lanthimos film, and yes, Emma Stone's in it, but so is Jesse Plemons and Alicia Silverstone. So it's centered on this CEO who is kidnapped by these conspiracy theorists because they are hell bent on proving that she is an alien out to destroy the earth. I'm in. Yes. Sign me up. It's called Begonia and it's hitting theaters November the 7th, the same day as Running Man, the Running Man remake. But I'm saying this. Releasing on November the 14th is Now You See Me 3. Yes. And the gang is returning and they're adding Rosamund Pike and Daniel Radcliffe. So, yeah, I've seen the other Now You See Me movies. I love them. I hope that this rises to the level because it's been several years since Now You See Me 2 has been released. So, I'm in. I want to see a trailer, but no matter what, I'm in. November the 21st, we're getting Wicked Part 2, Wicked for Good. I'm so excited. I loved Wicked Part 1, but I'm so anticipating on how they seal or button up this story. We know how it happens, we know how it ends in The Wizard of Oz, but I want to see how they work it all together, especially with both movies together, part one and part two. It's one of my top five most anticipated movies of 2025. On Christmas, believe it or not, we're getting The Anaconda. And I am so intrigued by this. I hate seeing snakes. I don't like it in my psyche, but I think I'm going to check out this. It's starring Paul Rudd and Jack Black and is centered around circus performers who get stranded in the rainforest while an anaconda is loose and a poacher who's using those circus performers as bait so he can capture the anaconda for his trophy. That is going to make for a really funny and intriguing and scary, terrifying storyline. So I'm looking forward to that on Christmas. Listen, there is a lot to see coming this year. I'm excited. I'm anticipating some good movies, hopefully, knock on wood. I'm anticipating some good movies to be released this year. This isn't everything. Of course, there are still movies that will be released that are going to get distribution deals, at the festival. So there will be more. But for now, this is what the slate is, at least the ones that I am anticipating a little more than the superhero movies, the tentpole movies. These are the ones I'm going to keep an eye out for. Let me know if any of the ones I've listed here piqued your interest.